to you, or this is that. I mean, I've been doing it with like trivia. I've been doing trivia on like sometimes like 2, 3 weeks people are fine, and then the third week like now I can't.
Okay, so now this is
Right.
the YouTube channel. So what you want to do? Oh, it's already on mute. You definitely want to mute that, or it'll echo. So now all you do is share, copy that link, and then what's the email? You have to email. Essentially, we're trying to get the link over here. So I just email it to myself. I always do this first.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then if you just press in, this is John Clerk. You just press in Teams and then scroll down. I don't know why it says candidate, not my name. So for whatever reason.
You're a candidate.
And then I just do something to make it like really stand out. And what I do is I look at these last numbers. I write it down, okay? And because send it, okay? Then what you do?
Honey.
I know that's what I'm like.
Sure.
Then you pull up the email here, and then there it is. You just, copy it, and you have to hover over it for it to copy.
Yeah.
And then say copy, and then you go back to the open media is what runs it on the website, and it's always in Chrome. Oh, it's actually right here. And I'll have it ready for you. I'll have created a session and all this stuff. And then you're basically pasting it right here. But see how all these other ones come up, and sometimes it'll grab one of the other ones. I've had see there.
Yeah.
So then you go. That's why I wrote down that number, because I'm like, no, that's not it.
No. There it is.
It does that a lot. That's why I found if I write down that number and then if it pulls up something funky, just delete it and then just go paste again. And then, so it's in there, so that's right. And you say save. Okay. And then you just have to go back here to indexing. And now you show live on site. And then you can tell it's going. Well, I didn't want to show you all. Okay, so it's going.
Okay.
At the very end of the meeting, you'll just press stop, and that'll take it off from being streamed. And then what I do is I pull up our website, and this is basically just checking to make sure it's on here. So you go to government, and then you go down to recording at a meeting. You go to
Nope.
What?
Adjourn board of selectmen.
Oh, because I was in
No.
the old agenda. Oh,
Well, then there you are. You got it.
I see. It's little things like that. I have no idea why I did
You've
that.
just been practicing and you
And
just
sometimes,
play.
I don't know words. That's why I've been so nervous to show you. And then basically just mute the. Well, is this muted? This is just kind of. Oh, I know. Press play. Okay, and then you want. And okay, it's already muted. So basically, you don't have to worry about anything else there. It's delayed, you know. It's delayed, and then it's from. So I watched this screen. I'm just gonna make that smaller. And then here's your mute. And then what you do is. Oh wait, if this is on. And then you have to go back to Zoom. Okay, I pressed it. Okay, so now we're good to go. Um, you go here for the participant. Oh, it's showing us. We're not muted. Until I think other people join, and then because I've seen that message come up.
Probably will
You can mute if you don't want them to hear you.
Don't screw with any of that shit.
Hello,
Hey,
who all's here tonight?
I'm here, but I'm not on your board.
I see Dwayne, I see Brent.
Yep.
Sean's not going to be here. Dwayne, did you get it done up at Silver Plume?
We got one more day tomorrow with that lift, and we should be done tomorrow, and then they're sending that lift back. It's going good. I worked at the brewery on Wednesday, and they lost out on Wednesday because it was kind of bad up there. Yeah, one more day and that place is done. I'll send you some pics. It looks pretty good.
Cool. Who did electrical up there?
Nobody yet. I don't know if Craig was going to use Mark, but I don't know if he's getting back with them. He asked me to have Serge take a look at it, and then Perry with Sunshine was going to take a look at the heating. It's kind of ready for it up there.
I think Mark's probably buried because he's got started on the brewery.
Oh, awesome.
And we met with public service there today. So
Awesome. Hey, I was going to tell you too, I looked at those plans and talked to Chris, and it shows textured on Sue's house. Do we want to change that to smooth or leave it as textured?
well, if it says textured on the print, we probably ought to leave it.
All right, perfect. I'll let Chris know on that. It says it when it takes a day or two to get the material. So
Yeah. And I think instead of nailing those corner boards and stuff, we ought to screw those so we don't have those big dimples in and stuff.
yeah, definitely. That definitely turns out a lot nicer with the finish screws. And I've been I know on Lloyd's when we had finished up, well, all of Doug's, I put some glue behind that just to tighten everything up a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, especially down there, we don't want the wind getting underneath it, so I would glue every course.
yeah, heck yeah. And I might even just, yeah, because with that Tyvek, it is still hold way better than not.
Yeah. Maybe it's just us.
Awesome.
Hey, Brent, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right.
I just had to find my unmute button.
Hello, Cindy.
Oh, Mark.
How are you?
How are you doing, Cindy?
I'm doing fine, Dwayne. How are you?
Doing awesome, always.
Hey, Brent. You're muted.
Hey, now I'm not.
Now you're not. Where are you? There's a lot of sunlight on you.
Oh, I'm just in a tent on the balcony. So I'm half outside.
You're half outside
Yep.
in the tent on the balcony.
Yep. That's my home office. Works well though.
Yeah.
You'll see it blowing a little bit until the sun goes down.
Do you have a back balcony?
Yeah. It's a back second floor balcony.
Huh. Okay.
You can see it from Guanella Pass.
Well, I guess I've
If you
never
know where to
examined
look.
your house from Guanella Pass somehow.
Probably not, huh?
Probably not.
Right. And then you wouldn't notice it unless you knew to look for it either.
Yeah.
Because it's under the roof line.
Brent, are you going into the office at all? Or are you basically still at home?
I'm still at home. I'll go to the job site, which is about once or twice a week, but I have not gotten back to the office to work at all.
Okay. Yeah. And your job site's in Denver, though, yes?
Littleton, so
Yeah.
South Denver.
Yeah.
Right near Chatfield.
Well, Joan's not gonna be here tonight and neither is Sean, so hopefully we get Bob. So we have a quorum. Well, we need one more. We need two more.
We need one more. We only need 4 of us,
Oh,
Mark.
that's right. Yep.
Here, I'm unmuted. This is Susan. Hey, I'm Jen tonight. I'm on Jen's speaker.
Okay.
I think you need Bob, or at least Nancy.
Yeah. Let me call Bob real quick. Let's see if he's available.
Oh, there's Nancy. Yay.
Hey,
Nancy, okay.
thanks.
Hi, Nancy.
Hiya. Woo,
Let's see, we'll give Bob a couple seconds here and see if he shows up.
okay. Can you see me? Okay.
Where's Daniel?
Yeah, Dan. Cindy, can you see me on screen?
No,
I can't see me either.
You're on blind.
What's that?
down in the left-hand corner.
Yeah.
Have you checked the video?
There we go.
Ah,
It's always something, always something. Do you want to wait for Bob or should we go?
I think we should start, Mark.
Okay,
We're not terribly, it's not terribly involved tonight, so.
okay. How about we do a roll call, please? Susan, are you there?
Susan?
Yep.
All right, you
I
want
am
to do
here.
roll call, please?
Okay, I can do it. I'm here again. Don't you leave, Jen, I swear to God. Okay, Joan Eaton, Sean Plett, Cindy Neely,
Here.
Nancy Hale,
Here.
Mark Reynolds,
Here.
Bob Hamilton, Frank Ganser.
Here.
All right. Anybody have any additions to the agenda?
Our formal agenda does not talk about the conceptual reviews that we received by email today.
Well, I have not seen those.
So we have a couple of questions from a couple of different people about Windows.
Okay.
There is the conceptual review from, I don't know who, from 1203 Rose Street, and a question from Sophie Egan. So I think that we ought to indicate on our agenda that we're adding those two.
Okay.
Okay. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
All right, second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mike.
Okay. Okay. Not any audience business since there's nobody in the audience. So let's go to Dan Babian. Danny, you on? Daniel?
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Tell us what you're doing, Dan.
Just the small picket fence to keep my kids contained.
Okay.
Is it wood?
Yes, it's wood.
Oh, okay, because I didn't find where it said it's material.
Oh, did I leave that out? I apologize for that.
That's okay. That's okay.
So,
We have a nice picture of the fence.
And this is on 1108 Main Street. It's mill site. It's non-contributing.
Yeah, the fence also does It does project beyond the, beyond the property line, but not into the usable street. So Kent, where are we with that?
It's, the encroachment license has been approved
Okay,
for the fence as well. So everything's taken care of regarding that concern.
all right, that's super.
All right. Somebody have some sightings for Daniel's project?
Book 3, page 81. Now I have to get there. Well, what I wrote down was A and A1 and A2 and B. A fence should be simple in character. A1 offense should be transparent, allowing views into the site. A2 fences should not exceed 4 feet in height, and it doesn't. And B, appropriate fence materials include wood, iron, stone, and plants, and this is a wood picket fence.
Okay. I think that's all we need. Could I have a motion to approve this, please?
Come on, folks.
I'd make a motion to approve the fence as stated.
Okay,
I can second that.
okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye?
Okay. Kent, do we need to send anything to the planning commission or anything, or
No.
adjustment? All right. All right, thanks, Daniel.
Thank you. You have another meeting to go to. Have a good night.
See ya. All right, next up is Dwayne, 1200 Main Street. Dwayne,
Yes.
tell us what you're doing.
We want to do a 6-foot privacy fence to the edge of the back of the house, and then drop it to a 3-foot fence to the front of the house. And as well as add some, on the right side, add some native stone steps to access the side door.
Okay,
And then we'll probably put native flowers kind of alongside that stone. We don't plan on taking the fence any farther than the front of the house. And it'll be out of cedar. The fence will be out of cedar.
Dwayne, it's a solid fence, correct?
Yeah, we leave the spacing to make it transparent.
but it'll be pickets, correct?
What's that?
No,
Is
it's
it-
solid. It's,
Yes, solid with a little bit of
Oh,
space.
privacy fence, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
because it's a privacy fence in the 6-foot part of it. But when you
Correct.
come down to the 3-foot part of it, it is still the cedar fence.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah, sorry,
Okay.
yeah, it wouldn't be the normal picket fence. For that side of it to separate our neighbor's driveway from us, it would
Yes,
try to make it more private, correct?
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
Okay, anybody else have questions for Dwayne? If not, let's go ahead and do some sightings.
Okay, well, we're back on page 81 of book 3, same page as Daniel's. Because it's a
Okay.
fence, basically. So it gets some of the same sightings, but a little different. It gets A, that the fence should be simple in character. And then it gets A3, which says that a fence for screening for an animal or may reach heights of 5 to 6 feet. And those should be located behind a building. And that's what Dwayne's doing. He's pulling that larger fence behind the building. And there are no gates in this fence. This is just a fence that goes down, correct?
Correct. Yes, correct.
Okay, so I had A3 and then the front part of the fence, A2 also, because it should not exceed 4 feet in height and the front part of the fence does not.
Correct.
Okay. And then on page 80. G. You're not quite doing a patio, but you're setting up all those stones along the side to sort of make a walkway kind of, a kind of space in front of your fence. And
Yeah.
it says that appropriate materials set in sand include flagstone, brick, and stone, and you're using native stone, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
What are you using on page 80, Cindy?
G.
Okay. All right,
And it really talks about patio materials, but it's the same kind of space.
that's good.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
Yeah, sure. I will move that Dwayne's application for the fence and walkway be accepted as presented.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay. Just for
Oh,
the
boy.
record, Bob's here.
Here all along, I just couldn't, somehow wouldn't, I could hear you guys and see you guys that I wasn't showing
Hi,
up.
Bob.
That could have been me. I'm a little out of my element, sorry.
Okay, so we
Looks
have a
like-
first and a second. How about all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, there we go.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dwayne.
No,
You guys have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, next one is Switchback, 8530 LLC, and that's me, so I'm gonna ask Cindy to take over the reins.
Okay, and for the record, Mark is recusing himself in order to represent the applicant. And we have, if I'm remembering this correctly, and I didn't check it out, we essentially approved the changes to the exterior of 505 Rose Street, which is a historic commercial contributing structure to our landmark district. And we approved those changes with the stipulation to review the front windows. Mark, is that your recollection?
That is correct, because we weren't sure whose windows we were gonna use. We agreed on the concept of them accordioning back or to the side.
Well, I'm not sure we agreed upon that, but we wanted to look at the lower set of windows, correct?
That's correct.
And I don't know, in our packets for last time, what we did receive, well, you guys have this thing?
Got that.
And the windows in question are the threes, the 1, 2, 3, and the 1, 2, 3. Is that correct, Mark?
That is correct.
Okay. And on the back of that was this?
Yes, just to show those uppers.
Well, except it shows more than the uppers, which is why it is very interesting to me. If you were going to guess, what is the vintage of that car?
That's 1950, 48 to a 50, I believe.
I would say so, because the vintage of the car that's on the other side of it, this guy is much,
46.
yeah, is in the 40s.
Yeah.
So this picture, and this is the town police car,
Mhm.
and this picture is, so he's likely to be newer. But in back in this picture, fascinating. These are buses, these two?
Tour
Okay.
buses.
What?
Tour buses, right?
Tour buses of some kind. But this picture is 1950s. This picture goes very interestingly over the head of that tour bus. And you got to look at the, I don't know if I can do this without, over the head of that tour bus, right there.
Yep.
Just through there is the top. Oh, if I got it. Yeah, right above him, up here. It's way up here. Those little line, that line is the midline of those windows. And it shows that those windows were a triple window in 1950.
That could be.
And that's really sort of, and it indicates it on the other side that it was a triple window. Because one of the basic questions was, what were the original windows in this historic building? And we know that Hamel, to do Hamel Block, ordered up plate glass windows because it was in the newspaper that he ordered plate windows. Hamel Block is the whole thing,
Right.
all the way down through Troyes. And there's no record that he ever received it. But I found it really interesting that the triple windows, as we see them now, obviously existed in 1950. Now, if they existed in 1950, the likelihood that somebody had put them in the 40s or even in the 30s is someplace between highly unlikely and really truly unlikely. Because there just wasn't the economic thing to we were tearing down buildings in this town in the 30s through the Conservation Corps because they were fire traps. So it is very likely that these triple windows, if they weren't original to Hamel's period in the 1880s, came along after maybe fires occurred across the street, but have been around there as triple windows probably since the 19-teens. Mark, do you have any further pictures or anything that?
No, that's all I could find, Cindy. It was just what you.
Yeah, because I've looked too, and I can't find historic pictures to verify that there was ever just plain plate glass. And what I'm saying, there is a place in our guidelines that says some changes, and I have the reference someplace, some changes that have happened are a part of the history of the structure. And so, therefore you may choose to keep them. I think the issue of whether they should fold back or whether, So Mark, how close are the ones that you're proposing to the ones that are there right now?
They're not. They're similar in dimension, but there's no way to make them exactly match what's there.
Those look like they've got a like a two panel or maybe multi-pane two panel above. It looks like it was all one piece with maybe metal rotting.
I don't think it was metal. I don't think there's anything that indicates in the as you look in the structure. You mean the whole front?
The whole, I mean, it looks like that's one window that goes from the ground up to the part that's sticking out with the.
Now there's a big crossbar in this thing.
Yeah, when you look at, I should have taken a picture from inside. You can see some of the original framing here. And you can tell there was a bar above the 3-panel windows that goes all the way across, almost to the panels where the door sits.
Yeah, there's above above, do you have this picture too, Bob?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Okay, above the bus, there is a crossbar under a double window.
Right.
And Mark, you're putting that double window back, right?
Yes.
And so the top windows in this picture, this board's across the front. When you take that thing off, they're going to put the double windows up here.
Okay, yeah.
And they're going to put the double windows up here, right, Mark?
That's correct.
That I believe we saw in our initial application.
We're
The
gonna put it
question-
back to the original, what was above these triples. So it'll
Yes.
look like, very similar to, Shop International and Kneisel and Anderson. It's a little different sizings than what's over there naturally, but, it'll have windows above them. Yes,
And what you're proposing for the triples is a triple,
that's correct.
but you're saying it doesn't look like the triples that are there now.
Well, what I'm saying is because of the mechanical hardware, the hinges and all the things that make them accordion, the mullions, the wood dividers are gonna be a little bit wider.
How much wider?
They're 5 1/4. If you look at that weather shields sheet, that gives you the size of the mullions on it.
Okay, yeah, the mullions are 5 1/4 on each window, so where the two windows are joined, you've got like 10.5-inch
That's correct.
wood in between there.
You mean on this thing?
Or are they, does it, somehow the whole thing move?
That's correct. It would all go to either the left or right, depending on how we do it. But the glass size would be the same. Right now, we have 22.5-inch window panes.
The glass, what do you mean the glass would be the same? Same as what?
It'll be the same dimensions of the glass that you see there. Those existing glass panels are about 22 inches apiece.
Okay, so then how do we fit them into the same space?
If you notice on the right-hand side, there is a panel.
Yeah.
It's painted white. That panel will come out and that should give us enough room to fit these in. What I was trying to do is match glass size because I knew I couldn't match the mullions.
Oh, I
So,
see. The panel on
the right and left hand, yeah,
this
there's a-
thing, this little
yes.
white thing.
right.
So Mark, on the other side, would you take out the white panel as well?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
When you look at it, they're going to be exactly the same.
Mhm.
So are the two sides of the, is it centered around the door? The windows on one side are the same as the other side?
That's correct.
Okay, so the perspective view here just gives it the appearance. that-
Yeah, it looks smaller, but they're the exact
Small
same
on the
size.
left, yes.
I took the picture at an angle, so it looks kind of funky.
Is there a separate header above the opening that we don't see on the sketch?
There will be a header of some sorts. We're not sure what we're going to use, depending on what we're going to do is the header will come, it's going to come above the door all the way across. So all these windows will be divided at that height and the door will go to the height of that header. And we're not sure how wide that header is yet, but the door is going to be like a 40-inch door. That's a 3.0 door right there. It's going to be a 4-inch, 40-inch wide door.
And it'd be
it'll go all-
taller.
Yes, it'll be taller. It'll be right where that plywood is now. That's about the height of the header and the doors and the door.
So that actually becomes more appropriate to the entry because these entry doors should be taller.
That's correct. Yes.
And do we have any details of did we on our first application?
Yeah, it was a storefront door. It was a wood door with glass in it.
Okay, and the glass was vertical. It wasn't these horizontal planos.
That's correct. It's horizontal.
Yeah, okay, I thought that it is horizontal or it isn't.
It isn't. It's
It's the vertical.
right. So it looks like an old storefront door.
So it looks
to
like,
speak.
yeah, because that door is obviously a replacement from who knows when.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very dramatic difference just to take down that plywood and put the windows back up there.
We had a piece off of there. Dwayne, you on?
Yes, yeah.
Do you have any comments? Because Dwayne was in charge of demo and all of that. He can speak to any of that also.
Yeah, what was your question, Cindy?
I just was making the observation that it would be, is when that panel comes off, it's going to totally, yeah, it's going to give back the vertical appearance of the building.
Yes, correct. And there should be enough room up there. Like Mark was saying earlier with the door and the header height, I think we kind of have to figure out what exactly the header needs to be to support that across there. Right, Mark, is kind of what you're thinking?
Right, yeah. We just have to dial it in and see what, if I had to guess, it'd probably be a 6-inch something or other up there, whether it's steel or something, it'll be wood. I mean, we'll face it. There's no window trim existing up there. There's a few pieces, but it looks like it's not original. So what we're gonna do is we'll come up with a profile similar to what's over at Anderson or over to Shop International. And we will make our own trim to go around all these existing windows, for all the new windows and existing openings. So it's gonna look very neat. I mean, you'll recognize it as an old building by the time we're done, because it'll have that feel. Because inside, when you walk inside now, the ceilings are all gone. We're up to the original height of the original ceilings in there. So it's pretty dramatic when you walk in.
Yeah, and then from the inside too, it looks, if you get a chance to look at it from the inside, you could see exactly where everything had existed before.
Yeah, it's interesting because Hamel didn't build these buildings. The man who built this building had a whole different front on it. And Hamel came along and then brought the whole block, and he essentially created different fronts and bricked the whole place. So even from the inside, you have two historic ceilings, two 19th century ceilings. I mean, you're not going to eventually have two of them, but I was able to see what the original ceiling was. Mark, when you say that, how from the outside, because these are, if they are supposed to fold, then you have them on some sort of a metal track.
That's correct. And we'll cover that metal track. There'll be one at the top and one at the bottom. All the windows are basically made out of wood, but they travel on a metal track. And we'll cover that track with a window trim. So you will not see that. Either that or we'll paint everything to match, or we haven't decided. But it won't be reflective. You won't actually see that it's metal one way or another.
I would think maybe we want to say that you have to cover that metal track with wood, so there's not
Well, it depends on
the
how,
outside.
yeah, I agree. If we can make it look appropriate enough. I mean, if it makes it look like you just stuck a piece of wood on there, we'd be better off painting the metal. But we'll have to see, because it just depends how this wood, how everything ties together. But if we can physically do it, we'll do it. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Hey, Brent,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Seems like it'll look okay. The header's the only part that's the difference, and we don't have a whole elevation with this update on it. It
Well,
won't be as
we're
thin.
not sure what that
as-
elevation is going to be, because of course the bottom of the windows will not change. The sills will not change. So the windows will go in, and then we'll build a header above it, and that header will continue at that same height all the way across the front of the building. That's what it's going to separate the side windows by the door. So those two side windows will butt into that header. So when you look at it visually, there'll be a line all the way across the front of the building, and that would be the header.
Right.
Does that make sense to you? It's
That makes
about where-
sense, yeah.
It's about where that plywood is right now, is where that header is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to add too, when it's trimmed from the outside, you won't look at it as a header. It'll look more as a trimmed piece of wood, like what's on the side of the windows too.
Yeah.
But if that helps out, Brent.
No, it's just the height of it is the only, because you haven't figured that out either.
Well, no,
Well,
we
the height.
can't.
Sorry, Mark.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends.
Because you said you might have to get a steel beam across there and then cover that.
I'm hoping we don't have to. What do you think, Dwayne?
Well, I don't think so. If you look, going back to pretty much the original height of the door, which is what you're looking at on the picture, the header starts from above that door. So there is an established height. It's just if it's 5.5 inches, which it shouldn't have to be any taller than that. That gives you your established height, and then the windows sit on top of that.
5.5 inches wouldn't look fat.
No, it shouldn't look any different than what I think the sides would be also. And I mean, I think we have some other possible solutions but I think a 5.5 inch header works fine for that. And then once you trim it out, just the way that the windows are made nowadays too, the reveals end up being pretty similar all the way around. So I think it'd tie together real nicely.
I don't have concerns with those dimensions. It won't be the slim little mullions that you saw in that historic photo, because they'll look a lot fatter than that, but you're not going to get slim little mullions like that anymore either.
Well, and because of the front of it, because you have so much, glass already going on with that, it's hard nowadays. I mean, they did stuff in the old days and it lasted forever. Nowadays, it's harder to get by with that just because of codes and such.
Yeah, and you'll never get anything that slim anymore anyway.
Correct. And they had some odd stuff in there that was kind of halfway supporting what they had, and I think it's why they had plywooded over that, and they had a lot of extra support that was kind of hacked in that to get the ceiling height that we needed to remove, and which has got us to where we are now, which I think if that's what we have to sacrifice is that 5.5 inch header, it's pretty good to be able to get it back to the original or close to the original way the building was.
I think that's more important than worrying about how slim the mullions are. Is that you're not going to get that unless you do fixed windows, and that's not the intent.
Right.
Can I just ask a question about the door?
Go.
Okay, can you see this? Where I have the arrow, it looks like to me
Yes.
the door is the height of the windows, but then above it, is there a transom of glass and then glass up again?
It was a tall door. It was a double door at one point and went all the way up to that second set of windows. But because of the current codes, we can't put a double door in. We have to have a single door. And then, so that puts us back to using that header as a divider all the way across the front. And that's what's determining the height of that door. Because we can't put a full-size door in there, what was originally in there.
What goes above the door in the entrance?
It's going to be glass.
So, because I think that Nancy's point, and I think I hear it, is that it looks in the historic photo, and I understand what she was pointing to, that if you get into that door, above it, it looks like you had a transom window.
I'm sure it might have.
But what you're
what we're
saying
gonna
is
know-
you will have a piece of glass above the door.
Absolutely. And see, when you look from the street, that header divides everything top and bottom, okay?
Mhm.
Above that header is going to be glass.
Okay,
Yeah. So you'll get that feeling just like it was when you walk in there. You have the glass panels on the side of the door going up to that header, and then above the header will be glass panels going all the way up.
and that's true on the side windows and the door.
That's correct.
Okay, so yes, all right. Bob? Thoughts?
Mark, I'm looking at the old picture, and the area that we're talking about, are we talking from where the pool sign is back towards the Texaco? Or are we talking that whole kind
No,
of white boxed front? 'Cause it
No,
almost looks like there are
it's-
two units side by side, and then I'm assuming the part where you see the further to the right, at the very far right end of the picture, that's where Troy's is.
that's right.
So I'm
This has
confused
got the
as to
whole
whether-
block in it. So we're talking about this piece and this piece. Starting from this
Not where the-
white
and
line,
not where the pool is.
what? Not
not
where the
where the-
pool is.
So
The
that's
pool-
Troy's?
Not where the pool is, no.
No, that's where
Okay.
Max is and Little
No,
Annie.
that's the
Oh, that's right.
jerky shop.
Okay, I was thinking Troy's was next, but you're right.
Yeah, and Troy's is down a
It's
little further.
down, one further to the right.
But the place where Little Annie's and that is what, you know, they used to, I mean, if you asked Cora Lou, she would tell you that's where the pool thing was.
Okay.
Because I asked, you know. So yes, we're talking about just the white windows and the white
The
front
last-
that
the
you
last-
see, yeah,
Three
off
blocks there, it's that just
the tiny bit you see above the bus. I wish they'd moved the bus, Mark. It would make it easier.
It would have been fun to see the front.
Photoshop it.
Because, yeah, we've searched all kinds of historical records and the one, I have a picture of the 1913 snowstorm, and all you can see is the very top windows. And there's so much in front of I couldn't find an older one anywhere. So that, and we've really sort of looked.
Yeah, the oldest I just found was 53 and what I was looking at that showed it.
Yeah, and it had the 3 panes out front. So
Yeah, it had three
everybody,
front.
what is the thought? I did find some sightings for this thing. Honest, I did. Where did I put them?
You're on page 69?
We're in book 2, page 68, yes. I found one very interesting one, I thought, on page 68. Maybe it was 69. Yes, it must have been. But starting on 68, 68 has one little difficulty because it says preserve the functional features of original doors and windows, and we're sort of changing the functional feature by being able to move these. But and it says, but A2 says if replacement is necessary, replace with similar features to match the original. Then quite honestly, the replacement, I do believe, is necessary because the whole structure at the front needs essentially to be
Well, I
to
think
be
A2
redone
and
in
A4 kind of go together. A4 says that you'll be mindful that some of the existing windows may not be original, and it's appropriate to change them.
Yeah, well, it says some of them may not have been original to building and were inappropriate replacement. These should be replaced according with the guidelines, which would tell you to put back original ones. But there is another thing that says that some changes in things may have been completed. Where is that? Some changes may have attain their own history. And we don't know what the original front of this building looked like. We have no proof at all what the original front of this building looked like. However, I would say that we, you know, and B, we avoid changing the position of historic openings. We're not changing the position of a historic opening, and we're not adding additional openings or removing. So we have B, B1, B2, C, maintain original window and door proportions, and we are maintaining those proportions.
D, replacing multiple panes with a single pane. We're not doing that. And that, so that D1.
Right. And we're not into pop-ups. And EF is maintain the historic ratio of window openings to solid wall. And actually, we are restoring the ratio of window openings to the solid wall by removing all of that plywood. But there was one. And we have
Continues
eight,
over on 70 as well. It talks about, starts talking about materials.
right. And so there is H, and then there's H2, use the same material, wood, that is used historically. And you have H6 match the panel and size of the lights.
7, the glass should be clear.
Yeah. And that's H7, and then J, windows should be finished with trim elements seen similar to those used historically.
I think that covers it pretty well.
The
Yeah,
very long and short of the story is that everything above that header will match what was originally there as far as looks and style.
Will the mullions and the kind of the framing around the windows kind of go with the stuff below, or are they going to be different?
They'll be a little bit, whatever's up there. We have a piece of existing trim up there that we can duplicate, and we think that's original. We're not real sure, but we know what the divided lights look like up there, because we can see where they were divided, and some of that frame is still up there. So we will try to match all of that, and then window trim down around the lower windows, like covering that metal track. We'll try to use that same trim down below. It's a very simple trim. It's nothing real elaborate. It's very basic and simple.
Yeah, where I was going is that I would think we wouldn't want to see a big difference in the the ratio of trim to glass area for the upper windows than we have for the smaller one, for the bottom windows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that's just my thoughts on it. You kind of want them to work together rather than to be distinctly different.
I think so, that we do want to retain, I mean, we can retain those upper windows in their historic proportions because we know their historic proportions.
Right.
And
That's what I
so,
was trying to
yes,
say.
we do want to do that. And if there is a little greater thickness in the, if there's greater thickness in the division between the panels on the windows below, then I don't think we want to repeat that on the windows above.
We don't want 10.5 on the above ones.
No.
No,
Yeah.
One, there isn't enough room. It'd look odd.
it would look very odd, and we're restoring the historic part that we know is the historic part.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
And yes, the ones on the bottom,
They're gonna look they're gonna look new and modern. I don't think there's any way you can get away from it.
well, they're going to function like new and modern. That's I mean, the real baseline question around here too is you know, are that kind of bifold windows, you know, appropriate in a historic building ever? Now, they're used in lots of places. You know, I sat in a brewery and out in Portland when in a wonderful old historic building that had that kind of bifold window. And when they were closed and you walk by the building, you didn't have the sense of them as a bifold window because they were wood framed and you know, they looked like wood frame windows. So I think it's really important that we try to make that the exterior appearance, because for the most part, they're going to be closed. I mean, you're not going to have them open. And that we make that exterior appearance look like they are fixed windows. And basically they will, won't they, Mark, when they're
Yes.
closed, they will look like they're fixed windows. It will not be evident that you can open them.
They will have bigger mullions than if they were fixed, but that's the main difference.
Yes, right. They will have the larger mullions, but that won't necessarily shout out at you that I am a function, you know, a bifold window.
Mhm.
As
Exactly.
long as you get the tracks appropriately covered.
I can
I think
guarantee
when
you.
they're closed, the tracks are gonna be covered anyway.
Yes.
Yes.
They
Okay.
won't appear.
So this is an amendment, or it is a follow-up to our previous approval on this? Mark,
It was just a follow-up. You wanted me to bring in what the material was to make sure they weren't metal windows, blah, blah, blah. So I think we approved them already.
I don't, I don't think I think that we said pending looking at what they actually were.
think you
So if I would hear a motion on whether the commission is what the commission would like to do on the review of the front windows related to the COA from July 11th.
Would move that we approve the windows as submitted.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
All right, is there any further discussion? I would like to add to that window, that approval that there is a stipulation, we're talking about a wood frame window and the covering of the tracks for the fold of the window.
Okay.
Is that all right with the?
Yeah, I would maybe word that slightly different, that the track system for the windows not be evident from the outside when they're closed.
Okay. And that it is a wood frame window and yeah, okay. Track system not evident from outside when closed. And that's a stipulation. And the second stipulation is that these are wood framed windows. I think the door and all of that was covered in the original COA.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, and it's, Nancy, is it all right? You seconded, I believe? Is it okay with those stipulations?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 And there's no opposed because I heard everybody say aye. Okay, it's all yours, Mark.
Okay. Okay, next on the list is Brett Buston at 1776 and 1778 Main Street. He's trying to put a ground level deck, and we need to recommend it to the Board of Adjustments. Anybody have any thoughts?
Okay, we have one of those papers, don't we, for the Board of Adjustments that says what we're supposed to be.
doing.
I think so.
Yes.
Land use application. Let's see.
No, we should have a paper for advice to the Board of Adjustment. I don't see one in my packet, so I don't know that you've got something special.
No, I don't.
Okay, well, we're supposed to go through our various,
Yeah, do you have a copy of that?
Okay, I have something that says Design Review Commission Advisory Matter and then has 1 through 7. Do you have
Yeah.
that?
That probably is.
yes,
Would you
that
mind
is,
reading those off to us?
Sure. All right. Findings and recommendations regarding conformity with criteria and compatibility with the applicable design review guidelines. All right, number 1, the effect of the proposed change upon the general historic and/or architectural character of the structure or area.
it,
It
Well,
doesn't have
we-
any effect.
yeah, it's basically no effect, I would think.
No effect. Okay, number 2, the architectural style, arrangement, texture, and materials used on existing and proposed structures and their relation to the other structures in the area.
Well, if in book 3, page 94, A and A1 and A3, we encourage decks. And we, so I would say that for that particular structure, it has a positive effect.
Yeah, and they show the picture of the existing decks and they look like they would with just, their standard wood and batten railing.
Well, actually, this is ground level too.
Yeah,
It's gonna sit right on the ground, so there won't be any railings or anything.
Yeah, the ones that are there now are on the ground level too. They've got a railing around them, but
Oh, do they?
yeah, he says he's gonna make it the same as the existing, so.
Okay,
yeah, he's just enlarging it a bit. So I would say that it, overall effect is good for the structure.
okay, so we've got positive on 2. What's number 3?
The effects of the proposed work in creating, changing, destroying, or affecting otherwise the exterior architectural features of the structure upon which such work is to be done.
Again, I think it's basically a positive thing to do for the structure. Same kind of sightings.
How about number 4?
Number 4, the effects of the proposed work upon the protection, enhancement, perpetuation, and use of the structure or area.
It's,
I think it has a positive effect on that.
5, the use to which the structure or area will be put.
that's neutral. I mean, that's not our.
Yeah.
Let's just put no effect, okay?
No effect. Number 6, the condition of existing improvements and whether or not they are a hazard to public health or safety.
I'd say
There are
no
none.
effect.
Okay, number 7 is compliance of the proposed development or work with all applicable design guidelines.
And that I would say that it has a positive effect because we're we do encourage that people use decks, patios and porches.
Okay, then
Particularly
there's a space where you can say your overall recommendation.
I'd say that we recommend it.
I mean, the variance he wants is so slight, and it's because he's got an odd-shaped lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He goes into that setback is the problem.
Yes, I get that, but
Did you want a motion on that or not?
yes.
I suppose we better have a motion. Somebody make a motion, please.
I would move that we recommend to the Board of Adjustment that that this adjustment has a positive effect.
Period.
That the deck expansion.
Yeah.
Okay, could I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Susan, could you fill that out for me, since you were sitting right there?
Yes, I will.
Thank you, since I don't have it.
That's actually the only person that has to sign it is Joan Eaton, so you're off the hook.
Oh, cool. All right. Okay. Conceptuals, I'm gonna have to have some help because I didn't read my email tonight where I sat down.
Okay, well, one of the conceptuals, I guess I just,
So I have Corey Richardson up here. I'm going to allow him to this meeting.
Oh, okay, please.
Is that all right?
Corey, are you there? There he's coming.
Oh, he might have
Corey?
gone.
Hello, can
How are you?
folks hear me out there? Oh.
Yes, we can.
Let-
Why
let
don't you
me s-
introduce yourself and tell us about your project real quick?
Absolutely, yeah, let me see if I can get my video to come up there. All right, start video. Yeah,
There you go.
so basically what we're looking at is replacing the existing windows in a rear sliding door, which you can actually see behind me. And the goal of that, basically, our house was constructed in 1979. They appear to actually be original to 1979 construction, which would put it at 41 years old, so it wouldn't be considered historic. But basically, we want to keep the same look of the window and the same, not add in, like, some windows have a sort of a metal pane in the middle to give it the look of a pane. But these ones that are on the house right now are just the frame and then, double pane glass. So that's basically what we were looking at doing. And I guess the two questions we had were, one, if we were to keep right now it's an aluminum framed window. If we were to keep pretty much the exact same, replace it with in kind, could we go on to to get a building permit for that, or would we need to get commission approval for that? And then the other one is, if we wanted to do replacement with a similar looking but vinyl window, would that be something that would fly, and what sort of feedback would we have as we kind of move forward with a more concrete window proposal?
What do you think, group?
Well,
Well,
this is down, he'd be in like book 3, I'm not sure what the designation of the area is, but it's down next to the county offices.
Yeah, it falls under gateway commercial.
Could you
which
tell me
is
your address?
very weird because it really should, it's in the group of three structures that are on that side
Right.
of Rose Street. So they fall into Gateway as opposed to falling into Millsite Residential. But I would say that what we're really looking at is a residential structure, and that it would be the Millsite Residential that was was where we would look, and actually where we would be is in windows in book 3. And
Fifty.
windows?
Yeah, page 93
93B.
and B on the metal, fiberglass or vinyl clad windows would be acceptable as long as they have a matte finish. Non-reflective.
And Corey, you,
If you want to go with vinyl, that would be fine.
you say that you are keeping the size, the shape, everything is the same.
Yeah, it would be the same opening on the house. It would just be the replacement of the windows and the same shape, and it would look similar from a distance. You know what I mean? It's the same, you know, without paint and stuff added into it. It would basically be the same as the original windows. One of them, there's one window that looks like it was replaced at some point between when the structure was built and now, but the other ones all appear to be original to that 1979 construction.
And are you doing this on all sides of your house?
That would be correct. Yeah, there's a total of 17 windows and one sliding glass door on the rear.
And the sliding glass door is what are you doing with the door?
Well, we'd like to keep it just the same door, except that it would be literally a new door, because what's happened is the seal on the glass is deteriorated over time, and so it always looks sort of, there's basically dirt and condensation on the inside of the glass that can't be cleaned off. Otherwise, we just clean the glass really well and call it good on the door. So that's basically what's happened to a lot of the windows too, and some of the windows have other issues that they've just kind of reached the end of their useful life.
So basically, you're going through the whole house, you're swapping out all the windows, but you're not changing sizes or opening sizes, we should say. And your slider's going to become a slider again. So
that's correct. Yeah, we actually like the, you know, it'll still be the slider as opposed to one that's vertical sliding. Even it would still be a horizontal sliding window.
Okay.
So we're really just modernizing, replacing in kind with newer materials.
Exactly, yeah. And like I say, we haven't, there's a couple of vinyl ones we're looking at, we're waiting to get some more quotes back. And so we haven't made for sure a decision, but we just want to see if the vinyl is still an option, or certainly, you know, we are considering also the aluminum. We like that the aluminum, they're, you know, they both have their advantages and disadvantages.
Do we want to make any comment on, clearly in our guidelines, it says metal fiber glass or vinyl clad windows should have a matte or non-reflective surface. So any of those materials are allowed. Do any of the commission members want to express any thoughts about material choice, however?
The only thing I would say is we have been trying to steer people away from vinyl windows. You can use, we suggest using a fiberglass composite rather than vinyl, because the fiberglass holds up longer than what vinyl does at this altitude with our UVs. So that would be my only comment.
In the range of practical advice, I think, yes, that's what the commission has found. I mean, you certainly are permitted to use the vinyl windows, but there's a freezing and cracking problem that we have noted. And I know that the sales folks say that doesn't happen, but we would tell you we've seen it. And so, you know, that's your choice, man. That's not our choice.
Okay.
And I don't think
we had like a 3-hour conversation with a company, Renewal by Andersen, who makes some fairly higher end windows, but they were pointing out some of the similar things that can happen with vinyl windows. So we've kind of, as we started to look into it more, we started to realize that more, even within the past couple of days. Something like potentially a fiberglass or an aluminum would be possibly a preferred alternative, especially for up here, just given our climate.
Yes. And as I say, you know, the commission rules say that you can do any one of those that you want, but
okay,
yeah, we like to share our experience at times.
Okay, thank you.
What's the actual address on Rose Street, please?
1203.
Okay.
The question is, does he need to make a formal application?
Not if he's doing in kind. I mean, if he's not changing the openings.
But he's
At least
changing
that's
the
my opinion.
material, Mark.
Okay. Well, yep, I suppose he'll have to come to us.
Unless he
I don't
chooses
think it's on
aluminum
our
windows.
pre-approved list.
What about window trim?
The actual trim would be the same. The outside trim right now, it's basically, I describe it as a furring strip, but it's a type of, it's like an old 1x2. So it's really almost a 1x2. But yeah, that's what's around the windows currently. We'd keep that same trim.
So no change.
So,
Are you eventually gonna re-side everything? Are you thinking you're gonna have to do that?
Well, we repainted the exterior, well, except for the trim, last year, and so we weren't really planning on residing everything. That is an option because that way you can put in a new construction window as opposed to a replacement window, which has some structural advantages.
Right.
But the residing project just seems like maybe a little bit more than we necessarily wanted to spend.
Sure. Understood. I was just thinking about your window trim. Is it 1x4 or is it 1x2?
No, it's like 1x2. It's like a little furring. You know how they sell, like, it's basically like a furring strip that goes around it. You see it a lot of houses from like ours is 79, but like in the early 80s type construction, you know, where it's basically a siding and then it has those little strips, which are every like 16 inches or something, but they hide where the siding panels meet.
Oh, it's board and that, or yeah, they did the seams.
Yeah, it seems, but then they also, I think, to make it look nice architecturally, they put it, it's like every foot, or you know what I mean? I don't remember the exact measurement how far.
Board and bat look.
It's kind of board and bat, yes.
Yeah, that's board and bat look. I think that, you see, basically you don't have to come to the commission if you're doing a repair, but a repair means that you're replacing something in kind. Not only its size, but its materials. So if you were replacing your aluminum frame windows with aluminum frame windows of the same size, that technically is a repair. If you are replacing them with a different material, you would need to make out an application to do that. So that's sort of the line between what a repair is and what a new project is. You know, if you change dimensions or materials or any of those things, it's a new project. If you're just replacing a window exactly like it was, it's a repair.
Okay, that makes sense. We were going to come before the Design Review Commission anyway for a fence request. And so we, you know, it's not a problem to also have the windows on there, but we'll make a final decision on the material.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Cindy, what's the next one?
It was Sophie Egan for contributing to historic structure. Nancy, you probably know as much about this as I do. They want to replace windows, and this is the house on Taos Street that is across 8th Street from the school, and right across from the greenhouse owned by Kugler. So it's that corner house. I don't know whether they want to replace all their windows or some of their windows.
They started to replace the second floor, and then they decided, why not have everything work? And so they have chosen renewal by Andersen. And to me, they're great windows because I replaced windows in Salida with those, but there'll be that dark, the windows now have dark brown around, it will be that dark brown bronze that goes around, and then the Andersen window.
Is this, their original windows are wood frame windows. Are these wood frame windows?
I think the Andersen uses a composite. To me, it
Mark?
looks.
I don't know which ones they're using. They make both. Now, are they replacing just the window jambs, or are they tearing out the whole window frame and everything?
I have to say that I assumed it was the whole window frame, Mark, and everything.
Okay.
Then we need an application from them.
Yeah, especially since, that's a historic house, so.
Yeah, that's a contributing structure.
So they need to come before us and tell us what they're actually using. If they're just doing pop-ins, that when I say pop-ins, where you leave the, what am I looking for, Bob? You leave the window frame, and then it's a replacement that slides in that frame itself. So you don't tear out the whole frame and trim. It's just an insert, basically.
I'm pretty sure that when I spoke to Cindy last night, Sophie was calling Jennifer. And when I got back to her, she knows she has to fill out an application.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because I think that she does. And Nancy said, that she, full disclosure, she approached me months ago and said they might want to work on windows. And I said, you've got a contributing structure and we're going to look towards wood frame windows. And she said, are there people who do that? I said, yes, there are a number of companies that do that. I know the Anderson company does that. So I think Sophie may have taken that to mean that she could go ahead and pick Anderson windows, and just put them in, which is not what I was trying to indicate. I was trying to indicate she needed to do this.
And the reason why that she got in touch with me was that Anderson said to her, you need a letter from the Historic Society before we can go any further. And she called Ellen. Ellen called me. So that's when I said to her, it's really DRC that you have to go. So I don't know if she talked, Mark, about Anderson wood windows or composite. I don't. So I think we just have to make that clear that wood has to be the.
Does everybody know which house this is?
Yep.
I'm sure you do, Bob. It was
do,
right
yep.
down the street from yours, but Mark, do you and Brent?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know, but
It's a little brown house right on the corner there.
Yeah,
Brent, when you come out of the Heritage Center and you look directly to the right, it's the brown house on the corner of
Towson.
Okay.
Towson.
Kind of a yellowish brown.
Right.
Oh, got it. We did there was a front door replacement on that one not long ago, right?
Yes,
Oh, okay, I know which house.
And we did do the front door replacement because they had to widen it a bit because of Rob's needing to get in and out with his wheelchair. And he's mobile now on he's walking.
Pretty well.
Yeah, he's really working this. But I think that they should.
I think they need to come before the DRC.
Yes, and I think that Jennifer essentially should let them know that. And so that was one. I also had another question. They're putting a fence at 400 Argentine on the corner property across from the courthouse. And they've been working on that house for quite a while. And long time ago, we approved lots of the exterior work. It's the tiny little house that's across 4th Street from, is that 4th Street or 5th Street? It's 4th Street across from where Jeff and Cinnamon Hawks live. And right across from the county. And they've got fence posts around. And I don't recall, and I just don't recall. There may have been a fence in that very original application. I don't recall.
They did have a fence in one application on that. I haven't gone back and looked at it, but they did have a fence in an application that split the lot behind them.
There originally was a fence all the way around it.
Yes, there was. I just didn't know whether the fence was, when you see somebody putting fence posts all out, I just didn't remember whether we had
Yeah.
done anything about a fence.
I don't
Well, let me
remember
ask-
for sure, but I know there was one for the back because it split the lot behind them.
Yes,
But I haven't looked in a year or two because that's how long ago it's been.
yes, yeah, it's been a long time. So I'm going to, well, I've asked Jennifer to take a quick check into 400 Argentine and see what that looks like.
She was looking that up at the end of the day today, but I don't think we got to a conclusion on that.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll continue to look. That's
Okay,
it,
anything
Mark,
else?
as far as I know.
Do we have any minutes?
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
Minutes of March, May 28th, March. God, where am I?
Yeah, I had a correction under Ralph Campbell.
Back in March.
The end of
Hey,
the
Ralph.
second line where it says metal roof, it should be composition roof.
okay,
And then it said members stipulated that the roof to be painted earth tones. I don't know what we said, but that doesn't sound right.
probably not painted earth tones.
No.
No,
Roof color is probably what you should say.
When we were discussing it as a metal roof, we mentioned that it would have to have a matte finish and be of an earth tone, but it isn't a metal roof.
Right. Because they're gonna paint the shed to match the house.
That's right.
So maybe we just take that part out, stipulated that the double doors be,
Wood,
yeah,
because we did stipulate the double doors be
Yeah,
wood.
right.
Okay.
oh, that's
The shed under the deck.
right. And so you can't even, yeah,
Yeah, you won't even see the roof.
And he's going to put
it was rolled roofing on there.
yes, he's going to put a rolled roofing on it. So we certainly didn't say it needed to be painted. You don't paint
Mm.
rolled roofing.
How about we just strike painted and just put
Yeah.
earth
I
tone?
think he started out with metal roof on his application and then it went to
Yeah.
rolled.
Then he didn't have room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other changes?
Under the one on Sharon, it said members agreed that the last paragraph, Susan, on that page, that the roof must be painted non-reflected. Actually, what that guideline says is a matte finish. And I know it's the same thing, but I thought we might use the words that the guidelines actually say.
Okay.
And while we're on that subject, Sean brought in a sample and it is very matte finish and very dull gray. It's,
He brought in another sample?
yes, there's one at Town Hall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but not at that meeting, so that's not about me, right?
No,
No,
I'm
No,
sorry.
Right.
that
I
meeting is
just
not
wanted to
about
say
you.
that for it.
So we'll have to go look at it. Great.
Okay, any other corrections? If not, could I have a motion to accept the minutes with those changes?
So moved.
All right. Can we have a second?
Second,
All right. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Hi.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything?
I just have a question.
Yes.
On the house I'm living in, there was a 4x6 metal shed. And it fell down. And so I haven't done anything about it, and I need to. Do I have to come in front of DRC for just the same thing? I mean, it's not gonna be metal, it's just gonna be wood.
Yeah, you do.
Okay,
Yep. You should anyway.
Again, I mean, it's the same thing as, the change of material makes it.
yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
All right. Anybody else have anything?
Just the 400 Argentine was on July 27th of 2017, if you want to search for that.
Okay.
You know that.
That's,
Oh, good.
I just searched it on my Explorer.
And what did it say about a fence?
I don't see a fence mentioned in the minutes.
So it was on, give us the date again, Brent.
July 27th, 2017.
That might make it easier to find.
Gives you a starting point there.
Yeah.
And we want to congratulate Cindy on her award.
Ah,
Yeah.
thank you.
And if you haven't seen the video, you'll have to watch the video. It's very nicely done.
Yes, well,
Burr
Thank
did
you.
well.
Very nice.
He kind of sounds like Ron. Did you
Yeah,
notice that?
yeah, Burr? Oh, Lord,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, no, and that was a complete surprise.
Oh, good.
Burr is my younger son, and so this video they put together was for the Dana Crawford Award, and I thought it was going to be a short video, and of course they had to cancel the dinner and all of those kinds of things. So they came out with this video, and it was a complete. And I saw it the first time. I saw the video for the first time after they put it on the line for the general public, which was sort of, but I'm busy watching it and I'm thinking, okay, this is okay. And all of a sudden my youngest son pops up and says he wants to say a few words. And that was pretty exciting for me. That sort of made the whole thing okay.
Yep.
And I'm just as glad there's no dinner.
Oh,
There you
good.
go.
And I don't have to stand up and talk to a couple hundred people. That doesn't sound great. But thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. We have anything else, anybody? All right. Let's say goodnight.
Good night,
Good night,
guys.
everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Hi.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Leave meeting.